Welcome back to Pop Dissected. Today marks officially 1 year since Taylor Swift released Me, thus marking the beginning of her Lover era. In today's video, we're going to take a retrospective look at the era, as well as diving deep into what this past year means for Taylor. But before we begin, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell for more future content on all your favorite pop stars. Taylor Swift's Lover era has been one of the biggest musical eras we've seen in this decade, which is impressive considering Taylor is on her 7th record cycle. Only very few artists can say that. While we're going to dive into the record itself, this last year has so much more to discuss, such as Taylor's fight against Big Machine Records, her placement in politics, and her intimate documentary. Now, for all the Swifties out there, and for those who may not know, the Lover era kicked off with the release of the record's lead single, Me. However, we were clued into a new era months in advance, with a string of cryptic photos that took us from the gothic, vengeful Taylor of Reputation into a colorful, pastel Taylor. This set the precedent for what made the Lover era so impactful for Taylor. Taylor is no stranger to Easter eggs, hidden clues, and secret messages. During her Reputation era, her videos were packed full of them, in order to share more of her insights and stories with her audience, as she wouldn't have public interviews explicitly discussing that record until this era. "There will be no explanation, just reputation," was the motto of her last era, and she stuck to it. So we knew once we were given vibrant brand new posts by her, the games had begun. Fan theories went wild. 5 holes in the fence, anyone? Theories aside, it was quickly figured out by fans alike that the Lover era had a lot of premeditation to it. The first thing that makes the Lover era so impactful is Taylor's transition into it from the Reputation era. As discussed in my 3-part series analyzing Reputation, this record and era was marked by Taylor taking back her narrative, following the worldwide hashtag trend, Taylor Swift is over party. In her documentary, Miss Americana, Taylor details how she felt so low and so hated by everyone following this, she figured she needed to reset her life and disappear, assuming the latter was what people wanted from her. In Reputation, Taylor takes on a journey of characterizing her own reputation she was branded with, finding refuge in love with someone who truly knows her, and putting those who did her wrong right in their place. She took the ammunition fired at her and fired it right back. Taylor described herself in her documentary as feeling like a wounded animal during this time, who was lashing out, that she was filled with bitterness, and rightfully so. The sessions for Lover commenced right as Taylor ended her massively successful Reputation Stadium tour, with the record being completed in just 3 months. Following the completion of the record, we were given a post with 7 palm trees. This began the series of colorful Instagram posts. Taylor's transition from a dark persona to one bathed in light has many meanings to it. From a professional standpoint, as stated in her own documentary, the female artists I've known have reinvented themselves 20 more times than any male artist. They have to, or else they're out of a job. Be new to us. Be young to us, but only in a way we want. Reinvent yourself in a way that's comforting for us, but is a challenge for you. Live out a narrative that we find to be entertaining to us, but not so crazy it makes us uncomfortable. We'll dive more into the connotations this brings out in a bit, but following this dark persona Taylor had, she had no choice but to lighten up. From a personal standpoint, as we uncover Taylor's growing romance displayed on Reputation, Lover marks the solidification of that love and finding love in all facets of life. Reputation was founded upon a character, a metaphor, a response and retaliation to what Taylor personally endured. Lover is an honest reflection of Taylor, a personal record showcasing the varying shades of love we experience. What we've witnessed is not only an artistic growth, from brooding analogies to positive reinforcements. It's also a personal growth, from lashing out, tastefully so, at those who have hurt you, to accepting the things you cannot change and embracing the positivity in life. Further discussed in Miss Americana was Taylor being trained at a very young age and being groomed into the mindset that her happiness was built upon the appraisal of others. Reputation stood as Taylor's rejection of those she had built her happiness on, while Lover stands as Taylor's acceptance of finding happiness not only in true love, but from her fans, friends, family, and those who truly know her. Following Reputation being nominated for 1 Grammy, which made Reputation Taylor's only era, save her debut and currently Lover, to receive less than 3 nominations, Taylor vowed she would make a better record. I think this marked a pivotal turning point for Taylor artistically. After the massive success of 1989 in terms of Grammy Awards, Reputation only receiving 1 nomination must have been devastating. To some now, and even then at the time, Reputation was in fact considered Taylor's magnum opus. She was firing back after a huge public fallout and years of bullying. Being a record Taylor described as her own catharsis and defense mechanism, how did it not being nominated for more Grammys impact her? Well, as quoted from Miss Americana, Taylor said, "There's so much pressure in putting new music out. If I don't beat everything I've done prior, it'll be deemed a colossal failure." It could very well be that Taylor deemed Reputation as a failure, despite still having a wildly successful tour to back it, impressive sales, a #1 single, and 3 top 20 hits. I believe this touches on Taylor's validation from the public, which she still hadn't deprogrammed during this time, despite Reputation at its core rejecting that public validation. As Taylor transitioned into Lover, I believe she not only wanted to take a more authentic route with her music, but truly put out something that was undoubtedly great in all facets. Now, that's not to say Reputation wasn't great. It's merely speculation on Taylor's potential viewpoint. Following her silence during the Reputation era, Taylor broke out of it loud and clear for her Lover era. Now that we've talked about a lot of the personal and artistic transitions from Reputation to Lover, I'd like to talk about another reason Lover was so successful: engagement. Aside from cryptic Instagram posts showcasing the set and pieces of Me music video, a secret mural was commissioned in Nashville, which was later to be uncovered as part of Taylor's campaign for her lead single off Lover. Taylor appeared at the mural, revealing the secrecy of it and her amazement at her fans for uncovering it. This set a standard of the era. Easter eggs. It had become a fun, engaging way to have her fans and other music goers be invested in this era. By Taylor inviting others to be part of this era, she in turn makes them part of her music. Plenty of artists, of course, are thankful for their fans, but not many go to the lengths Taylor went to in order to create a real connection and intimacy with her fans this era. Now, Me was indeed a polarizing single. From the spelling is fun lyric being criticized, to the track being deemed as her worst lead ever. Opinions aside, there's something more important to discuss with Me: Taylor's intent. Intention with Lover is another thing that made this era so impactful. Me, as Taylor stated, is an anthemic track about embracing one's own individuality in a relationship, a track filled with positivity, encouraging listeners to just feel good about themselves. I believe there's a universal truth in music. Artists' lyrics are a mirror to how they feel and what they're going through. Here, we have Taylor reflecting out and embracing herself, and wanting others to do the exact same thing. Once more, we have Taylor emerging from the darkness of Reputation into the daylight of Lover. While filming the music video for Me, Taylor stated it's a visualization if you, quote, were to split open her mind, and a symbolic representation of the things that make her who she is. Now, Me was intended to be the lead during the recording sessions, and while many have spoken out about wishing tracks such as Cruel Summer or other tracks were the lead due to their popularity, I believe Me was in fact the correct step for Taylor to take, personally and artistically. The last single off Reputation, released to US radios, was Delicate, a track detailing the worries Taylor felt about starting a new relationship and the fear of what that person may have heard about her prior to meeting. Me follows off the heels of that, embracing the individuality of both partners in their relationship. If your partner truly knows who you are and loves all your differences, then what does it matter what others say? The music video for me is jam-packed with Easter eggs, referencing her previous era and the one to come. Taylor encouraged her fans to find them all. Well, when you have that incentive to watch the music video, what do you get? A video that smashes the Vivo 24-hour record with 65.2 million views, and a track that jumps from 100 to number 2 on the Hot 100. Me very easily could have hit number 1 on the Hot 100, as could have its succeeding single, You Need to Calm Down. But I don't think I want to get into all of that in this video. What the Me music video did was effectively thrust Taylor into an image that was new yet familiar. And this also ties back into the quote I mentioned earlier about rebranding yourself. Reputation and even 1989 set a standard for Taylor's videography, but Lover took it into a brand new light. Me begins with a snake bursting into a ton of butterflies, a visual representation of Taylor's artistic and personal journey. I won't get into all the Easter eggs, as that would take far too long, but each one clearly says something about Taylor's growth and her future. Me is about loving your partner despite their differences, and embracing those differences that shape who you are as an individual. You Need to Calm Down, Lover's second single, is another anthemic track that shows support for the LGBTQ+ community, respect for the other women in the industry, and brushing off the haters who bring you down. You Need to Calm Down, despite its overwhelming positive message, did stir up quite a controversy. And this is when we probably get into one of the most pivotal points of the past year, or even past 2 years of Taylor's career, breaking her silence on politics, which is heavily discussed in Miss Americana. In the documentary, Taylor stated, "Part of the fabric of being a country artist is, don't force your politics on people, let people live their lives." She goes on to say she was told, "Don't be like the Dixie Chicks," whose career essentially took a downward plummet following one comment about then-President George W. Bush. She also details in the documentary, "A nice girl doesn't force her opinions on people. A nice girl smiles and waves and says thank you. A nice girl doesn't make people feel uncomfortable with her views." Furthermore, the real turning point on Taylor Swift breaking her silence and becoming a proactive voice in politics and equality stems from her sexual assault case trial. For a brief summary, while in Denver, Colorado supporting her Red Tour in 2013, Taylor was groped by David Mueller during a photo op. Following this, Mueller was fired from his job 2 days later, and in September of 2015, he sued Taylor for $3 million on accusations of defamation. Taylor countersued for $1. This in itself speaks volumes. Having always been accused as being money-hungry by the media and others alike, they countersue for just $1 spoke to something plain and simple: justice. In August of 2017, a few weeks before the release of Look What You Made Me Do, Mueller was found guilty, and Taylor donated money to organizations assisting victims of sexual assault. In her documentary, Taylor discusses how dehumanizing the trial was to her, furthermore saying, "This was with 7 witnesses and a photo. What happens when you get raped and it's your word against his?" I believe this horrific and trying event Taylor had to endure propelled her into breaking her silence. In my own personal speculation, I think that having to go through something like that and understanding just how your own life could be drastically changed if the court didn't believe you, Taylor was prompted to use her voice after Mueller did his best to silence her and invalidate her claims. In October of 2018, a year following the trial, Taylor publicly spoke up against Marsha Blackburn, which is extensively detailed in her documentary, with Blackburn claiming her viewpoints were under the guise of Tennessee Christian values. This angered Taylor, as she's from Tennessee and a Christian. What made this so profound was Taylor going against the would-be first female senator of Tennessee. But what makes this so profound? Throughout most of the 1989 era, Taylor was constantly criticized as a false feminist, only standing up for women's rights when it benefited her. Salt in the wound was only added following her infamous, yet thankfully resolved feud with Katy Perry. But by Taylor rejecting Blackburn, she's going not only against her for her values, but because Taylor wants a woman in power who truly is a feminist, who embodies equality and positive values. It speaks to the idea that if we want women in power, we should want the women who actively advocate for equality, change, and positivity, the ones who want a bright future, who want real and honest change, not put them in power solely because of their sex. In Taylor's Instagram post, she speaks out for women's rights, advocacy for people of color, and LGBTQ+ rights. Her post ended up garnering over 51,000 voter registrations in one day, more than the entirety of August of that year. So how does this tie back into You Need to Calm Down? Well, following the release of the track, Taylor was accused of queerbaiting. She was accused of pandering to a specific demographic to sell records and earn notoriety. But we can see, following her outspokenness in the year prior, You Need to Calm Down was by no means an effort to pander to anyone. In her documentary, Taylor even addresses this, saying, "It's so frilly and spineless for me to say Happy Pride Month, you guys, and not stand against this," in reference to those who are against the Equality Act. The lyric video and music video for You Need to Calm Down both highlighted this act, which garnered over 500,000 signatures. Now, the criticism of the track, more or less, was centered around many saying Taylor cannot relate to the struggles of the LGBTQ+ community. So why is she suddenly being involved now? Some also saw her attempts to be proactive as shallow, safe, and speaking for other people. Now, this is to each their own, and what you believe in regards to Taylor's efforts are your own opinion. But how I see it, someone with Taylor's platform highlighting many members of the LGBTQ+ community in her video and bringing awareness to the Equality Act is so important. Unfortunately, sometimes people will never be happy with any kind of activism. There's always something wrong. It's either never enough or it's misguided. But I do believe You Need to Calm Down has and still has well intentions. And in my personal opinion, as someone from the LGBTQ+ community, this track and video bring the biggest smile to my face. Now, Taylor isn't the only person in existence to highlight LGBTQ+ issues, obviously. But for me, to see someone I look up to so much take a stand and recognize me and millions of others is beautiful. It may not be overwhelming progress, and it may not be a gigantic step, and it may not change the entire world, but I believe everything counts. Additionally, in terms of fighting for equality, Taylor has been in a publicized feud, if you can even use that word, against her former management who owns the masters to her preceding records. I won't dive deep into this because frankly, none of those men deserve the time of day. But Taylor had and continually has fought for her own rights as an artist. But by fighting for her own rights, she is also additionally fighting for the rights of so many other artists as well. Following an era of silence, Taylor is taking no prisoners and demanding to be treated fairly and own the art she has created. Lover became the most pre-saved record by a female artist as of July 2019. It garnered 1 million pre-sales and debuted with 867,000 units, 679 being pure sales. This made Taylor the first female artist to have 6 consecutive records sell 500,000 copies or more upon its debut. Now, Lover's units are obviously down from her last 4 records. We are in the streaming era of music. Nothing about that is gonna change. But Lover still managed to be the best-selling record of 2019, with approximately 1,085,000 sales. Including album equivalent units, the record moved approximately 2.1 million units, being the 3rd best-selling record of the year. Taylor's past 3 records, Lover, Reputation, and 1989, were all the best-selling record of the year they were released, with pure sales. Even with us being in a streaming era, Taylor can still bring in massive numbers. But what allowed her to do this? Extensive engagement with her audience, heavy promotion, 4 deluxe editions of Lover, each different from each other, many live performances, and a new image that juxtaposed her previous era and gave us a new Taylor that we were still familiar with. Now, to our final point, What does Lover mean for Taylor, and where is her career going? In her documentary, Taylor stated how this era and time period may be the last she has this kind of success she's earning, and she's not wrong. Taylor has had one of the most successful, amazing careers of all time, but Lover may be the last time she sees sales like this. The industry is an industry, and as unfortunate as it is, most female musicians as they approach their 30s are written off. Now, I don't mean they stop making music, or they aren't famous, or they aren't talented anymore. There are still many incredible female artists well into their 30s and older. It's just a matter of they simply grow up. They may become mothers, or they may become wives, or they may focus more on their personal life. And if you're getting older, you're not the new, young, marketable artist you used to be. Artists are a product. They're sold. And I think that's something we forget sometimes about any industry, especially the music industry. Taylor Swift has reached a new type of success with every record she's put out, and she still will. But will it be the magnitude of all her records from the 2010s? No. Taylor won't lose her talent, and she won't lose her fan base. She's carried her fans throughout her entire career. But as new artists emerge and the demand of the market shifts, audiences will focus on other artists and other types of music. Taylor, to be completely honest, is the only female artist out there that is still wildly successfully capitalizing on a pure pop genre. And whether you want to hear it or not, the dominance of pop music is coming to a close, and many consider it over already. I think Taylor will very much reinvent herself with her next record. The biggest evolution we've seen from her has been her last 3 records, and from her own words, female artists have to reinvent themselves to stay relevant, especially as they grow older. Many are already assuming Taylor actually is moving into a new era, based off her color palette of her posts on Instagram. Now, while I love theories and I love speculation, with Loverfest being delayed, I don't believe we'll be in a new era just yet. Now, I don't doubt Taylor's capabilities for a moment, but you can only stand on stage in a glittery costume for so long before you have to evolve and take on a more mature image. And absolutely, I say that with the most updue respect. I'm not saying having fun, being free, and being playful is wrong by any means, but as you grow up and continue on making music in the industry, there comes a point where your image has to shift to something more mature, or else you can become a parody of yourself. But don't get it twisted. Lover is still a new peak in Taylor Swift's career, and I have no doubt we'll see her peak in many different ways with subsequent records. Lover is about love, and with this intimate record, that's what Taylor wants us to hold on to. Love the lessons life has taught you, and move on. Love the beginning of a new romance, despite the trials ahead. Love your partner, and never take them for granted. Love being empowered and standing up for what's right. Love the one who holds on to you, even when you fall apart. Love the one who wants you, and yes, I mean in that way. Love the fight for justice, and never giving up. Love the ones who will stay with you on the promise of paper. Love the memories you've built with someone. Love what the past has given you and mend your wounds. Love the ones who fill you with childlike wonder. Love the ones who may not be with you here tomorrow. Love the ones who can help you find salvation when times are uncertain. Love everyone and everybody, regardless of their identity. Love the ones who admit when they're wrong and want to learn. Love the ones who are different from you. Love your partner as a friend, as a fiance, and step into the daylight and let it go. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell for more future content on all your favorite pop stars. I wanted to celebrate my return by making a video to celebrate the anniversary of the Lover era, but also honor a record that has been helping me reframe my mindset and put my life into perspective. I needed to address many personal things in my life before I came back, and I am so happy to be back. Thank you, everyone. I love you all, and I'll see you in my next video.